What's up, guys and gals? It's your host Griever, as always, right here, bringing you guys another tier list video. And I don't do a whole lot of these, I just sort of started. And I know a lot of other anime YouTubers, manga YouTubers, power scalers especially, like to use the tier maker format and such. I always found that I didn't know a lot of the entries in a lot of these lists. You know, someone would come up with a waifu tier list and I wouldn't know half the entries. Someone would come up with top anime characters of all time, wouldn't be able to recognize them. And partially because I haven't seen everything, but the other part of it is that the images are so damn small and there's no like little thumbnail, there's no little title there just to say, this is One Piece, this is Bleach, this is Toriko. Like, none of that is ever there, so it's sort of, it is a tiny little flaw that I always found with the tier maker format. Though that being said, for certain lists where you have extensive knowledge of things, it's not that bad. And today we're going to be covering a moderate one. It's not too heavy. It should be a shorter video. We're going to be covering a lot of the major shonen series. It's not every shonen series. It's not all the, you know, from the 60s up until now sort of idea. It's just a lot of the major ones that I found on one of these already pre-made lists. So without further ado, let's get underway with it. So as you guys can tell from this list, this shouldn't take us too long as I explain each one and my reasoning behind it. Still be a decent long video, but as we can tell, there's not like 50 to 100 entries this time. It's mostly all the popular shonen and manga that have shown up in the last, you know, few decades, so to speak. So we're going to be going through each one, of course. I did need to change for this particular list. I did need to change the ranking system. There was an S+, no D tier, etc., etc. For those of you who don't know, I consider about, if you want to think about it this way, S is basically like nearly perfect, A is fantastic, B is great, C is good to okay, D is not very good, and then haven't read. If there is a series that shows up that I think is awful, I'll have to add another tier. But for the most part, I think that we won't have to go through that. But we will see. We will see. And that being said, I probably won't be counting any of these as the anime adaptation. I've read most of these as manga anyways. But if there is a change in that, I'll let you guys know. But for the most part, we're going to be only talking about this in the confines of the manga. So for an easy S tier, let's go Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist or the animes, either one, easy S tier, right? Easy S tier. For a haven't read series, looking through here, I don't know what this is. So there we go. I'm not sure what that is. I have no real idea what that is. So, and I'm pretty sure it's so sad, but I don't see Toriko here, and that is extremely sad to me. That makes me unhappy. I will say that makes me unhappy, especially with certain series that I believe, like, a lot of these series are worse than Toriko in my opinion. But that being said, okay, so now we have sort of a consistency here. You guys can see, like, haven't read. All right, let's see if we can find a D tier just right off the bat. I mean, do I need to explain, like, haven't read? I haven't read this series. I don't recognize it, or if I have read it, I don't recognize it from the very small thumbnail. I really wish you could blow it up once again. I really wish you could blow these things up and I could see exactly what it was, or at the very least, if you highlighted it, it would tell you what the series was. That would be extremely helpful. But yeah, so let's just go D Gray Man. Honestly, was a B. I think it's okay now. It's probably the top of C. We might have to change these around. D Gray Man, I really enjoyed at the beginning. I really enjoyed the concept, but similar to Blue Exorcist, which I don't know if it's here, but Blue Exorcist was the same idea. Simple concepts. Here's what I hate about a lot of these mangas that end up being bi-weekly or monthly. They are very simple concepts with a deeper lore world, but they get way too convoluted. They get way too big for their britches. They try to include too much, and everything seems like a plot on top of a plot, on top of a backstabbing, on top of a flashback, on top of the history of the world, on top of a plot. And it just becomes way too convoluted, way too complicated. So there were times when D Gray Man was on hiatus, I would jump back to it and I would not understand a single thing going on. And that's not good. So as far as D Gray Man as a whole, I could easily put it in B tier, But for the recent years that it suffered, I'm going to put it in high C, which once again, C tier is good, it's okay, but it's not great. And I will say that the later half of D Gray Man plus the hiatus has really hurt it. Let's go One Piece. One Piece is once again easy S tier. Don't really watch the anime too much, but definitely an S tier manga. One of the greatest manga I think ever made. It does have its flaws, but once again, I don't think any series is necessarily perfect. So there we go. We can put that up in there. Let's grab another. Let's grab Promised Neverland. Never really read it. I did read the first few chapters, didn't really like it, but I don't think that that's a fair assessment to put it up in D tier. I think Promised Neverland, from what I understand, is quite a good series. Some people, from what I understand, similar to Attack on Titan, are unhappy with the ending, potentially. But I'm not part of that community. I don't know much about it. So Promised Neverland will go and haven't read, because I only read like 10, 12 chapters of it. And similarly speaking, I thought I saw another one of those series in here. Maybe not. But yeah. So there is that. Let's go Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone is an easy A tier manga. Dr. Stone by Boichi. Boichi is one of the greatest manga artists in my opinion. I prefer his art style over some of what some people would consider better artists, like the artist that does Berserk and the other one that does One Punch Man. I prefer Boichi's art style. I think it's superior for character models, for dynamics. I think he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, manga artists currently working on manga. I really do. I really believe that. And it's not just down to the art alone with this guy. Dr. Stone, Sunken Rock, they were both phenomenal series. And Dr. Stone is a fantastic series. Even now, to me, still going strong. I've been following it since chapter 1, watched the whole first season, and I still love the series. So definitely an easy A there. There's not a whole lot of flaws with Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone is pretty damn good. Hitman Reborn. Assuming that it looks like Hitman Reborn, I'm going to put that in C tier. I didn't finish it, but I feel like I read enough of it back in the day. Is it good? Is it not? Like, that's really the question. I would feel very bad putting it in D tier, but it's definitely not better than D Gray Man. And there was things I definitely did not like about Hitman Reborn. So once again, personal opinion aside, and I did not finish the series. I probably was 100 chapters away from finishing that series. Wasn't it like 383 chapters or something like that? Like, it's quite a long series, and I certainly didn't get close to finishing it, but I tried to read it twice. One time I got further than the other, but I ended up dropping it out of disinterest. So I don't think it was that great. That being said, let's jump to another series. One Punch Man. Ooh, One Punch Man. Let's save that one because let's save that one. Let's keep this video interesting for a while. Bakuman. I'm going to go with haven't read. I did read it, but I don't remember it. I never finished it, but I don't remember anything bad about it. So I couldn't necessarily put it in any of these rankings. So that's going to go there. Death Note is an easy S tier manga. Death Note is one of the few, just like Full Metal Alchemist, one of the key things for a great shonen, in my opinion, unlike some of the more timeless ones, is that the problems tend to start because the series runs too long. It gets too popular, and people just end up losing disinterest or start finding plot holes. And the mangakas have a hard time remembering every little detail they explained back in chapter 2 when they're on chapter 250. So it becomes a bit of an issue of plot reasons and keeping things interesting while not breaking the world. So thankfully, Full Metal Alchemist and Death Note especially, these two series definitely knew when to end their stories. And a lot of people don't like the second half of Death Note, the unofficial second half of Death Note. And I am one of those people. But Death Note overall, I still think is one of the best series. And I feel like it can garner a lot of non-anime fans, including my wife, who does not really care for anime, but she definitely enjoys Death Note, and we've watched it multiple times together, the whole series, and she always finds it interesting. So I find it breaks the mold of what an anime is for a lot of non-anime viewers, and for that reason alone, I mean, you have to give it at least A tier, if not S. So, but let's jump into another one here. Medica Box. Medica Box is bottom of A tier, I think. Bottom of A. Medica Box is one of those series, it is so self-aware. You know what this is? This is the Joker. If we had another tier, I'd put it in the J tier for Joker, because it is a Deadpool manga. It's a fourth wall-breaking manga. That's what it is. It is a self-aware manga of the likes that I have never seen before. Well, you could call One Punch Man a parody of shonen, and you wouldn't be wrong. It's a comedic parody of the shonen archetypes. However, Medica Box was a Deadpool manga. It was based in fourth wall breaking and being self-aware almost the entire manga, especially in the later half. So, for the uniqueness alone, the great art style, the fun characters, and everything else, I can't put it, at the very least for right now, we'll put it in the highest B tier, but I think it's going to go in the bottom of A tier because it's so unique. Yeah, no, it's got to be an A tier. It's got to be. It might not be as groundbreaking or greatness that a lot of these other series are, but it's definitely one of my favorites, so it's going there. Okay, let's start to piss a couple of people off. Let's grab Hunter x Hunter and put it at the bottom. Let's put it in D tier. Let's put it at the top of D tier. That is not very good. And this can come to say that I have read over 100 chapters and not watched a single anime episode. So, before you guys start flaming me in the comment section and start canceling my YouTube channel, my Twitter, and whatever else you guys want to cancel, let it be known, because last time I insulted Gon and last time I talked about Hunter x Hunter, a lot of people brought up the Chimera Ant arc. Well, sorry, I've never read or watched the Chimera Ant arc. The reason being is that I got 100 chapters in and dropped the series out of sheer boredom. So the Chimera Ant arc may or may not be the greatest manga arc of all time, but to get there is a journey I have yet to be able to suffer through. I have tried 3 separate times to read Hunter x Hunter. The furthest I got was partway through the beginning of Greed Island, and that is as far as I've gotten. This might easily go up to B tier later on, but honestly, the Nen system, overcomplicated, and yeah, I didn't really enjoy the first 100 chapters I really read, honestly. Hisoka's fun. Gon is a... there's a lot of bad things I could say, but I don't want to get too much hate, because once again, only 120 odd chapters in. It's a longer series. Maybe I should watch the anime. Maybe I'll have a better opinion if I finally do get to the Chimera Ant arc. But for someone who has tried multiple times, who has gotten through 100 chapters of a series, listen, if you don't like the first 100 chapters, what's to make me love the next 100? That's just my opinion, but for right now, from what I've read, I feel like I have a fair assessment to put D tier from what I've read. Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Never read the manga, so we're going to have to go off on the anime for this one. We're going to have to start with the Duelist Kingdom thing. I did read the first couple ones with like the board games and stuff like that. I've read some chapters of Yu-Gi-Oh! But for the most part, nothing. I'm going to put that in B tier. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is B tier. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is B tier alone for Dan Green's voice. Alright? Like, seriously. Dan Green's voice as Yama-Yugi, and I didn't know that Yugi and Yama-Yugi were the same damn voice actor. That's intense that that dude can sound like the most manly dude in the world, and at the same time, the most intimidating badass dude ever of all time, but at the same time, sound like some little 9-year-old punk whose balls haven't dropped yet. Like, the impressiveness in the English dub alone was awesome. The overhypeness, the overtones in the 4Kids dub made Yu-Gi-Oh! A timeless classic for me. Of course, this is a little nostalgia based. Were I being a little more unbiased, it'd probably go into C tier. But I'm going to put it in B tier. It's probably not going to end at the top of B tier, but I'm going to put it there because nostalgia is a thing. Guys, we're not going to be able to deny what you like and what you dislike. And this is not a definite list. This is what I prefer. This is what I have enjoyed. So there we go. But I will say that I have watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Up until I've watched Battle City. I've watched the I hate the Orichalcos arc, but I watched Duelist Kingdom and Battle City and all that stuff again and again. I've watched it to this day, and I just enjoy it just as much. It's over-the-top hype. It's classic manga with guys going just super-powered, over-the-top hypeness. How many times can I say over-the-top? How many times am I going to say it? Yu-Gi-Oh! Is definite B grade. So, Fist of the North Star. Ooh, it's been a long time. It's honestly, yeah. I like Yu-Gi-Oh! More. Nostalgia alone will push Yu-Gi-Oh! To beyond it. But I really liked Fist of the North Star. I really enjoyed this manga. I didn't read it till later in life, so maybe I had a better appreciation for it. But I really liked a lot of things about this manga. So yeah. Like it's very 80s, it's very early 90s. There's a lot to think about when it comes to that shit, but overall I just like when I look at the others, putting Fist of the North Star on this tier, no, and definitely not on this tier. And I have read it, so yeah, it just, that is what it is. My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia will be... I wish this was split, sort of like Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, because if we were to split this right around the Gentle arc, then I could easily put this in low A tier, from the Gentle arc till now. We have the Villains arc, we have Hawk's Endeavor, we have the backstory with Dobby, Twice, everything there has been solid. The first few arcs of this series was cookie cutter and crap, in my opinion. So... I'm going to say bottom B tier. Remember, it goes near perfection, fantastic, great, okay. B is more great or good. Like the top of B is great, the bottom of B is good, and then C is like good to and then D is not really and terrible. So... if we want to look at it that way, there is still a bit of a scope there. So yeah, My Hero Academia overall for the last 100 chapters, it has been a good manga. It has been a good story. I feel confident in saying for the last 100 chapters, it has been quite good. And I've definitely enjoyed it, the dynamic and stuff. The only thing I liked at the beginning of the series was Stain. Everything else was sort of cookie cutter and like, okay, so we're mixing Western comic books with manga now. It's X-Men on steroids. Great. But now we're getting a lot more dynamics, and I really, really enjoy certain chapters of My Hero Academia. So putting it in C feels a little bit disservice to the amount of work that has gone into the last few arcs of the series. So why don't we grab a couple more A tiers that I can easily put into the A tier bracket. We're going to put Food Wars beyond Dr. Stone, in all honesty. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're also going to put Ririona Kenshin actually right above Food Wars. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to put those two up there, and I'm going to tell you guys right now why. Let's start with Food Wars. Food Wars is honestly one of my favorite manga. I own the entire series. I completed that collection last year, and honestly, Food Wars, though it had, just like a lot of manga that we talked about before, with why Fullmetal Alchemist and Death Note, I believe, succeeded, where a lot of mangas have fallen off and failed, is it ran a little too long. The story was pretty much over, and then they got another arc. And that arc really undermined a lot of the characters, undermined a lot of the plot lines, a lot of the character development. It undermined way too much, and it was quite bad. The last arc was not very good. Like most shonen, end up failing. Now, that being said, I still very much enjoyed the anime. I still watch it. The artwork is phenomenal. The idea of foodgasms is hilarious. And I am always... And the fact that they had an actual culinary expert, a chef in her own right, I believe it's a she, was sort of writing all the recipes and checking everything and stuff like that so you can actually make these. And I have made a few recipes from Food Wars and they are fantastic. I love to cook, and I'm very passionate about good flavor and good cooking in my personal life. So the fact that we have food manga is always something that I always tend to gravitate towards, and I really enjoy. And unlike Toriko, which is impossibilities, Food Wars actually gave me extensive manga story, but with possibilities of things that I can cook at home. Unique dishes that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So Food Wars alone, for being a personal journey for me, but also being a well-drawn manga and a great manga storyline overall, it's Iron Chef manga. It's fantastic. Now Kenshin, on the other hand, it might end up being at the bottom of S tier, because Kenshin is not only the original classic, it's one of the original samurai classic mangas that gained so much notoriety, but also the fact that it just set up so many things. It set up so many things that we take for granted now. Kenshin set up in the same way that a lot of people dislike Gen 2 of Pokemon. A lot of people find problems, and there's power scalings and things with Gen 2, and it does have its flaws. But Gen 2 introduced more of the game mechanics today that we know and love than any other generation, and that's a fact. It was one of the ones that brought in so many things that are fundamental for not only competitive Pokemon, but also for just Pokemon enjoyment in general, and features that we don't know how we could live without. Seriously, go back and play a Gen 1 game. Not Fire Red and Leaf Green, which already has those mechanics. Go back and play a Gen 1 game. It's the same idea with Rurouni Kenshin. Kenshin, or Samurai X, it's got a lot of other names, Swordsman's Tale, all that stuff, is just a timeless classic and follows the adventure of somebody, the Batosai, the Manslayer, the killer who doesn't want to be a killer anymore. It's really one of the best stories I have ever read, and I hope to one day own the entire series. Unfortunately, I was collecting Food Wars and One Piece, the never-ending collection item at the time. But one day I will collect the whole series. Now, let's move on to another one. Assassination Classroom. Easy beyond Yu-Gi-Oh! Top of B tier. Assassination Classroom was honestly, I thought I would hate the manga. And though I find some flaws in the manga, honestly, I think we all cried at the end. We're not going to mention reasons why, but the end of this manga was cry-worthy. I teared up. I cried at the end of this manga. Easy top of B tier. It's not a great manga, because a lot of the characters are one-dimensional, in all honesty. But overall, the idea of, Koro Sensei, how do I talk about it without spoiling is beyond me, so I'm not going to talk any further. Just accept my logic that this was a great manga. So, Yu Yu Hakusho. Now there's something. What do I do with you? What do I do with you? I think you belong right here. Some people are going to be unhappy about that. But I did not actually grow up with Yu Yu Hakusho. I never say that name right. I didn't grow up with The Spirit Detective myself, unfortunately, because I live in Canada, so we had limited animes. We had some oddball animes come through, Vision of Escaflowne and Cardcaptor Sakura, but at the same time, we would rent DVDs, or not DVDs, VHS tapes, for those of you who knows what those are, of Dragon Ball Z episodes and such, and Inuyasha. We got Inuyasha and stuff like that, but we never really got that on our Canadian programming. It was not on White TV, it wasn't on Fox Kids, so we never really got to watch a whole lot of that. At least I didn't. Maybe it was my region. So for that reason, I didn't grow up with the nostalgia level for it. However, once I did start reading the series, and I haven't actually finished the series yet, but I've read enough of it to appreciate exactly what it was embodying. The character development, this is similar in the same vein to Kenshin, it brought in so many of the classic things that we take for granted these days, and they were simplified to a point that you didn't need these long-winded monologues and explanations. You could understand the characters from a fundamental standpoint simply with a couple of panels. It was simplistic writing, but it worked on a much deeper level, and I just really, really enjoyed it, and I feel like it belongs. Putting it in anything less than A tier would be a disservice to the series, even without nostalgia goggles. So there we go. Soul Eater. Soul Eater is a... do I like it more than My Hero Academia? No, I do not. It is a good series. It's not a great series. It's a good series. It's good. It's, you know what? It's the top of C tier. It's the top of C tier because honestly, I watched it, I read it, and I mean the ending in the anime left. See, I watched the anime first. I transitioned from an anime only guy to a manga only guy, and that was a slow process. And at the time, Soul Eater was in my anime only phase, and unfortunately, because of that, Soul Eater ends up here at the bottom of, or at the beginning of top of C tier. Now that still means, as I said, good to, but calling it B tier is sort of a disservice to everything else in B tier because it left a really bad taste in my mouth, some of those things. Though I still do enjoy the series, just like I do enjoy D Gray Man, but they can't really be in B tier. That's just... you got to be fair. You got to be harsh and fair at the same time with these judgments. Otherwise, what's the point of having a C and D tier? So, Bleach. Bleach is going to go right about here, top of A tier. I really, really want to put that at S tier. I want to put that at the bottom of S tier so damn bad. But Bleach is probably one of my favorite. At the time when I first got into manga, like I just talked about being an anime only guy, once I transitioned from anime only into manga, Bleach was my favorite running manga at the time. And I really fell in love with the series. I fell in love with Kubo's art style. I fell in love with the characters. To me, it was so unique because unlike a lot of shonen series with the dumbass protagonist or the goody two-shoes or the believe it, strive for your goal, Ichigo was a badass from the get-go. From day one, from chapter 1, episode 1, this guy was already cool. He wasn't a dork. He wasn't an idiot. He wasn't a bumbling buffoon that happened to have super strength or what have you. He wasn't a Deku. He wasn't an Asta. He wasn't a Luffy. He wasn't a Naruto. He was a badass delinquent from the beginning, and that really resonated with me because that's who I wanted to... That's who I looked up to. I looked up to the characters that were like that. So I could rave about Bleach all day, and I'll definitely make some Bleach videos in the future. But for right now, yeah, A tier is where it belongs if it doesn't belong in the bottom S. So let's go Gintama. Unfortunately, I haven't read Gintama yet. I hear it's great. It'll probably end up in B or A tier by the time I finish it, but it's extremely long, and I haven't had the chance to. City Hunter. City Hunter is something that I'm gonna have to put... You know what? I do remember enough of it. Let's go... Yeah, let's go mid... No, let's go top of C tier. Let's go top of C tier because I like City Hunter. I really... Well... See... City Hunter's a hard one. City Hunter's an extremely hard one for me because haven't read or I don't think I ever actually read City Hunter. Did I read City Hunter before? I'm not sure. Damn it. I think I'm going to have to put it in haven't read just because it was a long ass time ago. Yeah. I'm going to have to put City Hunter in haven't read because I don't remember enough about it to give it a fair rating. So I don't want to put too many in the haven't read stage, but yeah. Let's go Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is bottom of A tier. You guys are going to hate that, aren't you? You guys are going to hate that I put that shit over Hunter x Hunter, Soul Eater, Yu-Gi-Oh!, My Hero Academia, and Assassination Classroom. But Fairy Tail is... Yeah, actually, it's better than Medica Box. Actually, I like it. Yeah, Fairy Tail is honestly way better than people get it credit for. Yes, it's got its problems, but I love Fairy Tail. I love the art style. I love what Mashima was trying to do. I love the idea of everything that was intended here with Fairy Tail. Everything that was intended with it, everything that it embodies, and all the badassery that surrounded it. Some of these arcs are some of the greatest. Some of these arcs and some of these storylines and character developments are some of the best in manga. I don't want to hear any more flack about that. Yes, did it taper off? Yes, does it have so many like really moments? But Fairy Tail is an enjoyable read. If you just turn your brain off and enjoy it. If you turn your brain off and enjoy it, Fairy Tail is a great, it really is a great manga. A great battle shonen. Just a battle action shonen, guys. Friendship is everything. It's nothing different from watching Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And everything else when we were kids. It's the same deal. So I just, yeah, Fairy Tail's right up there. And speaking of friendship, let's talk about Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z end up right above Dr. Stone for me. Above Fairy Tail easily. Above Food Wars, but not beyond. I don't believe. Death Note, One Piece, Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, that's a fair rating, though. The only reason I say this is because this includes the original Dragon Ball, and this we're talking the manga. Dragon Ball Z is probably that and Inuyasha are probably my two nostalgic love animes, and they will probably be my two favorites overall of all time for nostalgia alone. There are so many good moments. I grew up with that stuff. But if I'm trying to be as fair as possible, Dragon Ball Z is not S tier. It's not on the same level of storyline as these three. And as an adult, once again, Dragon Ball, the story based on Journey to the West, is not... honestly, I could take it or leave it. I've seen it a few times. It's not bad, but Dragon Ball Z is where I'm at. I'm at once we introduced Vegeta, my favorite character. So there's... yeah, so honestly, giving it below A tier would hurt me. Putting it above Bleach and Kenshin, it seems unjust, and it can't go into S tier. So there we go. This one, I honestly have no idea what it is, so it goes in haven't read. I can't tell. If I could tell, once again, if I could expand the image or something, maybe that would be easier, but I have no idea what that is. Is that Gantz or something that I've never read? I have no idea. Saint Seiya. Top of C tier. I enjoyed it, but once again, the campiness does sort of wear through, but not in a lovable way like Fist of the North Star or anything like that, or Yu Yu Hakusho. Saint Seiya is a good series, but I never really fell in love with it. So top of C tier, pretty good. Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer. We're gonna go... yeah, mid B tier. Demon Slayer, honestly, basic ass story. The only reason it got as popular as it did, remember, the manga was not really selling that well. The manga was actually failing before the anime finally made everybody lose their collective minds. And it wasn't until the anime series finished and people binge watched it. Then, once it had a binge watchability in this day and age, that's what people need. You need A1 Pictures. You need Madhouse, Studio Madhouse, Studio Bones. You need A1 Pictures to animate a one season at their highest quality of any current running manga, and it will sell like hotcakes. Demon Slayer itself is not that great a story in my opinion. It's okay. I read it, some of the characters are fun, and I did finish the entire series, and it wasn't that bad. It was a pretty good story, but basic as hell. I would argue that almost every story on this list is like more complicated than this story. This story is so basic, but that being said, simplicity is not always a bad thing. It's still a decent enough story. It's got pretty cool artwork, and I do enjoy the cast of characters. So, though I believe that the anime is the reason that it gained such popularity, and certainly not a story on S or A tier level, it definitely deserves its own merit, and it is pretty damn good. So, we're going to put it in mid B tier. It's good. It's not great. It's, but it's good. It's solidly good. Black Clover, I will put above Demon Slayer. Do I really want to do that? Yeah, that's hard. Okay, so once again, guys, as you guys know, these tier lists, like, clearly the tiers are set in stone. The tiers are set in stones, but easily you could exchange these. You know, I could swap these around. So Black Clover could be ahead of Demon Slayer or Assassination Classroom or anything, but maybe it's not. Black Clover could be below that. You know, the mid packs are always subjective. You know, Fairy Tail, Dr. Stone, Food Wars, Dragon Ball. That's all subjective. I could flip those around anytime. Same with same with this stuff. Yeah. So overall, yeah, we're just gonna put it there so this video doesn't go on forever because we only have 2 more entries left. And we're going to leave them to 2 of the most other controversial ones that I have. And I'm going to put Naruto at the top of... No, I'm not putting it at the top. It's... Yeah. Yeah, okay. Naruto cannot be denied as being bad. Naruto cannot be... You know what? There's a lot to like about Naruto. There truly is. But putting it... My Hero Academia, unlike Naruto, My Hero Academia would be down in D tier if it didn't have the last 100 chapters. That's a fact, guys. First season, second season, first couple arcs, that shit would be way down in D tier below 100x100 for me. I did not like it. But Naruto is... But it has that arc. Naruto has some great characters and some great stories. The main cast makes it horrific. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura are 3 of the worst characters in all of manga to take forefront of a series. And for that reason alone, it has to go here. But this is not a Naruto rant video. You guys are going to disagree with that. At the best, I could put Naruto at the bottom of B tier. At the worst, it would go in D tier for me. So yeah. And One Punch Man. Here's the one that so many people have probably been waiting for me to do it. And I mean, I had to make you guys be anticipated. One Punch Man. Depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking the anime, the webcomic, or the manga? Well, we're going to go with the manga adaptation. The one by Murata. We're going to go with that. And as far as the manga goes, I think I enjoy One Punch Man about... Yeah. A lot of people are going to hate me for that. D tier is pretty empty, actually, which is surprising. I honestly feel bad for Hunter x Hunter because I don't think I'm giving it a fair... You know what? We'll put it in... We'll put Hunter x Hunter just so people aren't pissed off. We'll put that at the bottom of C tier because D tier is like a 1 tier thing. That's not very fair, right? Because there are some series that I could have put in D tier, but like there are some redeeming stuff and really, you know, like so we'll have nothing in a D tier for me necessarily. Like, if I was going on pure biasness, here's what would happen. This would happen. Easy right there for me to say, yep, don't like Naruto, don't like One Punch Man, don't like Hunter x Hunter, don't like My Hero Academia. That would be so easy for me to do. But we're trying to be subjective. We're trying to be, you know, understanding, all that fun jazz. So, yeah. So something like this. Something like this seems a little fairer. The reason I'm gonna move Hunter x Hunter up though officially from D tier to C tier, like so it's not there anymore, it's up here, is for the simple fact that I have not read the Chimera Ant arc, I have not finished the series, and it is unfair to judge a series purely based on only 100 chapters. Though I would argue that 100 chapters in to any, considering the fact that 2 of the S tier mangas do not even go for 100 chapters or just over it. I think Death Note's only, Yeah, I'm pretty sure Full Metal Alchemist and Death Note only go close to 100 chapters. They're not even 100 chapters. The fact of the matter is that if you can tell a story that good, you know, for 100 chapters, like, sorry, there are mangas that are perfect and finished in over 100 chapters. If you can't convince me that it's a good story in 100, then, I mean, it can't go above that yet, guys. Sorry. And the problem is that unlike Bleach, which Soul Society started as the second arc, which is one of the greatest arcs compared to the Chimera Ant arc, the problem is the Chimera Ant arc starts way too late. By the sounds of it, it can't start at least for 150 chapters. So if the first 150, so if Greed Island, it turns out to be crap, how am I supposed to get through it? If the Hunter exam, which I did not like, was crap, then getting through all that just to get to a Soul Society arc, why wouldn't I just read Bleach? Because by Bleach, I'm already into the Soul Society arc well before. So it's one of those non-comparable things, I guess. Well, I'm sure that won't get me canceled or any controversy coming my way whatsoever. The comment section, the dislikes, there's gonna be some. But that being said, this was just my opinion, guys. As I explained during the video, this was my opinion. These are the series that I like. These are the series I don't like. These are some series that I haven't watched, but I feel like I know enough about to actually make a judgment call for me personally. Once again, it's only opinion based. The greatest series of all time might not be my personal favorite. So I hope you guys understand that. I hope you enjoyed the tier list. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys can think of another list to send me, feel free to link me to another one in the comment section down below if you guys feel like you want to see more of these type of videos. Like, comment, subscribe as always. Drink responsibly as always. And we'll see you guys back here next time. Peace out.